All right, this podcast is with Justin Alvarez. He is an adult onset hunter. He was a fan of the podcast, reached out. He got his license last year, mid-December out of nowhere. Been a big fisherman, super dedicated to fishing, and for some reason it clicked to him. He just had to get out there and try hunting. He'd been thinking about it for a while. Got his license near the end of the season, but has already jumped into learning everything he can about hunting. He reached out, asked if I could take him out a couple of times, and I liked his enthusiasm and everything, so we brought him out. I brought him out. A couple guys had went with me a few times. Tyler Forbes came out and has been mentoring him a little bit too. But Justin, he's just, you can tell he's a go-getter. He's diving 1,000% into hunting. He's trying to learn as much as he can. You'll see his enthusiasm throughout this podcast. But he's a great guy. He's got a lot to learn, but I know he's going to turn into a good hunter. Hopefully you guys get something out of this podcast. I think whether you are a beginner like Justin or somebody in their first few years, but I think even it's nice that even as guys who have been hunting your whole life to get the perspective from somebody new into the world, and it's part of what we want to do, perpetuating hunting, showing people that, you could be 34, 35, you could be 45, 50, and still get into hunting. You can do it. And it's not as difficult as it seems. The barrier to entry is lower than you'd want to think. It is difficult to get really, really good, to reach the top, just like in any field. If you want to get really good, or you want to, only kill mature bucks, then it can be difficult. But the defining factor is time. If you can dedicate time and energy towards it, anybody can get really, really good. But if you want to be able to get out and shoot any deer, every year, there is a low barrier to entry. And I think this podcast will touch on a lot of that. So there's no excuse for adults who didn't grow up hunting. You can still get into it now. Justin, even though he hasn't killed a deer yet, I know there is some deer on the horizon for him this year. So without further ado, let's get into this podcast. Here is Justin Alvarez. Okay, we got another episode of Hunt Suburbia podcast in the new studio, and I'm with Justin Alexander. Been taking him out, doing some mentoring with him, along with Tyler Forbes. Been helping out a lot with you too, right?
Yeah, Tyler's been awesome, super available, shoots the shit with me every now and then over text, listens to my venting sessions about punching turkeys in the face. Haven't actually done that, but no, it's been great. He's been super helpful. He does turkey hunting. You don't turkey hunt, I know that, but he's been a good, just another mind to bounce things off of regarding.
Dude, it's all right, man. Hunting. I don't feel like you're cheating on me. Don't worry about it.
But it's been good. No, you got to surround yourself with good people, right? Like people that know a lot about its subject matter.
Yeah. And Tyler is what I see you as. 2 years ago, Tyler was, I think it was 2 years ago only, was his first year seriously hunting.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that, but
he's new. I remember he said three. He's on his third or fourth year now, maybe.
Yep.
Something like that.
But he was one of those guys that has you get bit by that bug, and you know that you're going to obsess over it.
Yeah.
And so his learning curve, dude. He's already more knowledgeable than most.
Yeah.
People who casually hunt for a lifetime. He seriously hunted for the last 2-3 years, taking it thinking about it every day.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's super passionate about it. I mean, you can tell. Follow his Instagram. You watch his stuff. He'll go on and on about a particular run a deer's making, where they're bedding, where they're sleeping, what they're eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He really actually consumes by it.
He put a spreadsheet together and stuff of all the deer pictures and stuff in this first year. I think he brought it back and tried to reverse engineer. He looked into the stats. I know you're quote unquote nerdy techie guy, right?
Yeah, man.
You're into the tech.
Well, there's so that's what I think is interesting too, right? Is hunting, I think, has this nostalgic primitive value to it of caveman, get meat, caveman, provide for family type of thing. But at the same time, especially nowadays, there's so much technology that's enabling us to be that much more efficient, quicker, better, faster, or whatever you want to, however you want to call it. So I'm like, use it. Yeah, why not? Like, why? I'm not knocking guys that use the traditional spreadsheet stuff, but like, not making a plug here or anything, but there's a couple different software, like web-based software that I've been using recently that I'm trialing. I was talking to the CEO of this company recently. He's down in Florida. And it's all, and this is nothing new. Like, this stuff has been out for several years even, but it's getting better and better because of machine learning, artificial intelligence, all this like crazy computer driven stuff. So they're able to like take your photos from your SD cards and read it.
Is it a hunting brand?
No, it's not a hunting brand. It's just a small.
What's it called?
It's called Deer Lab.
Yeah.
So there's a couple others that I trialed. I don't actually, honestly, don't remember the names of the other ones. I only remember this one because I'm a little more invested in it. Put some money into it. Talked to the owner, like I said.
See, you are so obsessed. You can tell,
dude. I know.
You're already like tracking down the owners of like new tech companies that are in the hunting kind of.
Yeah, I had a conversation with him, just giving him feedback about like stuff I didn't like, things that didn't make sense to me, and it all after I had the conversation with him, it made sense because he's down in it's just different hunting, right? Down south or out Midwest versus Northeast. I think, like you guys have said it many times on here, New England style hunting, specific suburban hunting is just such a niche, right?
Yep.
So the way that he had certain things didn't make much sense. Like the way you have to basically create a property, right? And then the licensing goes like you pay X amount a month or per year based on how many properties you have. But I'm like, I'm not hunting in an ag field, or I'm not hunting a farm or this or that. I'm hunting like, I might be hunting a chunk of 30 acres here on this side of the road, or I might be doing, say, another 7 on this side of the road. They're totally separate in my eyes because of like this, whatever, you know what I mean? Like you'd have like that division, or you might consider them one piece of property, right? So, and he's like, oh, okay. He's like, so I understand. He's like, so it's a lot of small pieces. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, if you're going to charge me for every property I put in here, I'm like, I'm going to need like unlimited property. So anyways, long story short, we had a good conversation. But it's amazing what it does. So you upload your photos off your memory card, and using artificial intelligence, it's able to identify. Now, it's not perfect, obviously. Lighting, the angle, the HD quality of the image, all that stuff's going to go into it, of course, right? And you know, at the end of the day, it's a computer software algorithm, whatever the hell. But it's going to basically identify, like it can say, like whether or not something's a coyote versus a deer, a buck versus a doe.
Yeah. I know Moultrie does some of that too.
Correct.
On their cams.
Some of the cams will do that. So it's stealing some of that, which again, so this technology's been around for a while. So a lot of the brands now are basically just recycling it, making it better. But what I like is that also kind of what Moultrie does to an extent is based on that property, you then define where your cameras are.
Yeah.
So it gives you like a Google Maps style topo.
Yep.
Satellite overlay. And you can define where your cameras are, and then you upload the images for that particular camera. And let's say I have a big property and I got 5 cameras. I'm going to do that across the board, and it's going to be able to tell me based on the metadata timestamp embedded on the photo, right? That's all your EXIF data. That's all hidden metadata on every single digital photo. That's, where it was taken, the aperture, what time it was taken, all that shit gets flooded in. And they take that timestamp and they're able to look at the GPS location and know the weather and wind for that day, along with the lunar cycle, like the lunar table and all of that. Yeah. So it maps it all out. So I'm able to then look at a location, a piece of property, and know, okay, come say November 7th, right? Where should I hunt today based on the wind at this given time and based on statistical data uploaded to me for the prior year, so on and so forth. It has data set to evaluate against. So that to me gets me excited. Like that's like all the people might be like, they've already like turned this off, right? But like for me, that makes a lot of sense. But it's basically what Tyler's doing. Tyler's doing that, but it's on paper.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, automate it, digitize it. It's available online, available on your phone, and I can make an educated guess now on what stand I should sit in today.
Yeah.
Right, based on all the activity that's been uploaded.
But I think you're going to end up learning that
that's going to have imperfections.
Well, yeah, but also don't just base. Don't base hunting is a lot of intuition based too, right?
Yes.
Where it might give you early on maybe some starting points, and maybe every once in a while it's gonna line up
right,
and be right. But there's a lot of other things too, right? Like even having your cell cams out and just
Yep.
most recent intel.
Yep.
Being able to just know how the deer move from their summer locations to where they're going when the acorns drop, and
Yep.
knowing all that stuff. And you're gonna make so many mistakes, dude, in your first few years too.
Yep.
Like it's so funny. People watching this. Does he sound like somebody who's never really hunted? Like when did you bought?
Yeah, I bought in so late last season.
Late
So
last
there was
season,
basically like nothing left of the season. There was like a couple weeks left of the season.
So
and
what
that was
made
it.
you? What made you at that point like buy a hunting license?
Yeah.
And had you shot bows before? Like how?
Yeah. Let's
walk
backwards.
us through like how you got so obsessed so quickly,
Right.
and you haven't even really hunted yet.
Right. Yeah. No, we gotta Quentin Tarantino this story. So like we're gonna like rewind, go back. So I've always been obsessed with nature, wildlife, outdoors from a little kid. Right. Like instead of cartoons, I'm watching hours and hours and hours, like a scary amount of hours of just like nature shows. And mind you, like back in like early '90s, like Discovery Channel actually had animals. I know that's weird for some people to think about, especially younger people. But it was literally just nature documentaries,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I can hear David Attenborough's voice in my head right
Oh
now,
yeah,
right? Like,
Planet Earth was the best, right?
dude, man's a legend.
The best.
My dad had an old 10 or 12 tape VHS compilation, media set of David Attenborough specials. It was like birds of the sea,
Yeah.
mountain animals and blah, blah, blah. Like each volume was something different.
That dude's
I
voice
can't
was
tell
made
you, dude,
to-
how many times I watched that set. So anyways, I've always just had like an affinity for animals and wildlife, right? So, and from very young, our dad got us into fishing. Like, just, I don't know, man. I remember being like 4 or 5 probably. As soon as I was able to like sufficiently walk and not bash my face into a wall, my dad had a fishing pole in our hand. And he was obsessed with fishing too. So for him, it was like, let's get out of the house, right?
Yep.
Get a little time away from
Just
house
occupy
stuff.
your kids any way possible, and
Right.
hey, let's go fishing.
But
It's a
still have
great-
an excuse to personally get out himself and fish and have
Yeah.
fun and crack a beer and
Yeah.
tell jokes and enjoy enjoy being outside. So our whole lives basically spent fishing, man. So like, it was even that's funny because I spent most of my time freshwater fishing for years and years and years, and it wasn't until maybe like honestly within the last maybe 6 or 7 seasons. So I'm 34 now. So in the last like 6 or 7 years when I finally made a real formal shift to saltwater.
Had your dad saltwater fished?
My dad had saltwater fished before, like sparingly here and there. I don't know, we were always like into freshwater for some reason. Nothing wrong with freshwater. I love freshwater fishing still, but something about being able to cultivate and really take home. You can do that more so with saltwater, right? There's a lot more fish species you can bring home and eat safely and consume and all of that without having to worry about.
And I think it does taste better, a little better than the freshwater.
Exactly.
fish.
Yeah. No. Totally agree. But yeah. So, got more into saltwater fishing. Got into fishing from a boat and boat access and all that stuff. So, but I've always had this passion and curiosity to hunt. I think they could just go hand in hand. Like I don't know. Like I'm a fisherman. I also want to be a hunter. I want to capture. I want to cultivate.
But you've got an obsessive, addictive personality. You
Yeah.
can tell, right? So like, how many days did you say you fished last year?
So I was on the boat last year, 63 days.
Yeah.
So 63 days.
On the ocean.
I was on the ocean. I'm talking like full days most of the time. Most of the time, not all the time. Sometimes I did little, like 3 or 4 hours here and there. But for the most part, you're talking like 6 to 10 hours just gone, or 10 to 12 hours gone on a boat all day. And because like you're chasing, right? You're chasing, or you're understanding. You're like same thing. I have the same analytical mindset of curiosity. I think that's the thing like about my personality is I have to understand how things work. I'm an engineer by trade. I work in IT, so it's the same thing. It's like just like analytical curiosity, always looking for an answer on something. And fishing's the same way, dude. Like, but it's also fun like that too. Is like you could fish for the same thing that I'm going for. You could be standing right next to me on the same boat, right? The same water, same conditions.
Yep.
You're catching, I'm not. What am I doing wrong? What's
Yep.
happening? My presentation? Is it technique? Is it lure? Is it color? Is it speed of retrieve? Is it my line? Is it like all kinds of stuff go into it? But it translates directly into like.
Is it luck ever, or is it always in your
Definitely
mind? Is it
sometimes, man? Sometimes.
is it always something that you could point to?
It could be. I think there's always a reason for it, for sure. I definitely think there's always something behind why something is successful or not successful. But I think that goes hand in hand into the hunting aspect of things as well. Like The way you hunt is going to be different from the way that I hunt and the way Tyler hunts, but ultimately we're all after the same goal. But how we prepare and how we do things and how we set up our gear, what gear we use, what kind of bow all of that is just, extra.
Yeah.
But no, in terms of like the OCD nature, like my wife will be the first one to tell you. She's like, she still catches like my weird isms sometimes, like just being married to me. She's like, you got a lot going on up here. She's like, why? I don't know why you think this way. Like, what's up with you? And I'm just like, this is just how I am. It's about efficiency. Like what you're doing, the way you're doing it is wrong. Stop doing it. And it drives her crazy. But I'm like, because I'm just everything I do, it's under the assumption that like it's about efficiency, doing it the best way, the fastest way, the most efficient way, because time is
What's
money.
the ism? Is it autism?
No, dude, just like I don't know.
Sexism. Then that's what it is.
Probably all of those. I mean, it's just there's just something about it, like, but you've talked about it with a lot of guys, the guys that are really successful have some level of like an addiction or some sort of OCD or some sort of
addictive personality
something,
for sure.
Man.
It's like you get obsessed with it. I think you texted me one of these days. It was like, dude, I don't know. I don't remember if it was you, but
it was probably me.
Yeah, that you're like, dude, I've got like a sickness now. It's like, it's a hunting obsessive sickness. And dude, and again, you haven't even hunted,
right?
So
I mean, I've turkey hunted.
Yeah.
Turkey hunted. Yep. Yeah, so I've been doing turkey hunting
this year, right?
Right. Yep. Yeah.
But let's go back first. Let's go back to how did it go December where you're like, I have to hunt now and there's only 2 weeks and I'm going to like.
So I had that drive, like I said, so I had that drive going back, right? Always this curiosity of, I wonder what it would be like to hunt. I wonder what it would be like to hunt. And I've grew up watching those old school hunting shows on TV. There's guys in a stand hunting an AG field or something. But like, I don't know, man. I just finally, I think it was COVID, right? I mean, maybe. I probably could have done it sooner. My wife and I, we're married and we got a lot of stuff going on. But I think eventually, come this past winter, I was just like, I need something else to get me outside more. Like, fishing is awesome, and I spent a lot of time doing that. But it's really just a certain time of the year. Hunting seems like it could fill that void, that itch that I have of like, I need more time in the outdoors.
Yep.
And also it's something new. Like I've been fishing my whole life pretty much. Not to say that I know everything there is to know about fishing. I don't. You're always learning, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But I feel like there's a certain capacity where you cap out certain skill sets and you're always just looking for something new, right? And hunting is that. Like hunting is that new itch for me. And like anyone that knows me knows I don't just scratch the surface with stuff. I never half-ass anything I'm committed to or passionate about. It's always an obsessive, like, I will consume every bit of information I can about this subject matter, and I will excel at it. Like, that's just how I'm, like, programmed. I need to work that way. Because, like, that to me is, like, how I have fun. Like, I don't like not knowing the... Like, if you ask me something, I don't want to not know the answer to it. Like, I need to know. So I'm going to go, like, research it like a crazy person.
Yep.
And like that sounds like I sound like insane. I say it out loud and I'm like, oh my God, I'm crazy. But it's just I don't know, man.
That's something special. It's not everybody has that. So you're already,
thankfully I would say.
Yeah, right. If everybody had it,
yeah,
the world would be nuts.
Yeah, crazy.
It'd be
crazy stuff going on.
Full of nuts. I was like, But so did you go out at all once you bought your license? And do you have a bow? Did you have a gun? Did you have any plan to go or like tell me about what happened?
I went out in Rhode Island a couple times.
With what?
I went out. I went down to North Attleboro, X-Spot Archery, bought a Bowtech Carbon Zion. I did a bunch of research. And I wanted something that was middle of the road.
Yep.
There was plenty of bargain buys in the bow world. When you go to a pro shop, there's so many options, dude, and it's like head spinning. And I wanted to go in educated to a point. So at least I could speak to things and I could ask for certain things and avoid other things, At least on paper, I could, right?
Yep.
And then so I went with a bunch of information in my head. I did a bunch of Googling, honestly, and I just saw, like, I don't know. I read a bunch of stuff and watched a bunch of videos about the Carbon Zion. You shot a Carbon Icon.
Yeah.
The Zion is pretty much, it's almost the same damn bow.
The newer
honestly.
version, though.
Just a newer version. Binary dual cam system. It felt nice in my hand. It's light. I think it's like 3.7 pounds dry or something like that. Like I said, like we were talking before we started recording, like when you go in there, you have no basis for anything. like a bow is a bow, right? In your eyes, you're just like, cool. You pull this back and you shoot something, like cool. Like you don't know. So, anyways, yeah, I don't know why, man. I just gravitated towards the Carbon Zion based on what I read and what I understood of it. It felt nice when I went to the shop and shot it, so I bought it. It was maybe like $900 or something. I think
Mid-December, right? You're
we can edit
mid-December.
that price out, by the way, too, for my wife. We'll, just, we'll bleep that part out. Yeah, exactly. Mid-December, which was tough, actually, to get pricing or to get any bows because you got that archery conference was it in January? I forget when that was. There was some period of time.
ATA is in...
Was it ATA? I think
Maybe.
it was ATA. It's around that time frame. So all the shops are like resetting their inventory, right? They got cleared out from all of hunting season. They have nothing left, pretty much, a lot of these guys. So, and I'm like itching to buy something, but I also didn't want to just buy just to buy, right? So, anyways,
But you were itching because you wanted to get out and actually hunt in the last 2
if
weeks.
I could,
You wanted to try.
if I could,
Yeah.
exactly. I did the bow hunter certification course. I did the main one because everything's online. You can do it all online. You don't got to go in person or do anything. So I thought that was great, and it's
They got
reciprocal.
bow hunters in Maine?
Yeah, exactly. Apparently, at least probably like
No,
7.
I know there's a lot of
There's
them.
probably 7.
Yeah.
So I did that course, and I did that probably over the course of like a week. I probably could have banged it out in like a day or two. Honestly, the content's not difficult. It's pretty much common sense stuff, but I was really trying to absorb it, and like, this to me, it was all new content and subject matter. I had no one. You got to remember, I have no one in my family that hunts, no one at all.
Yep.
Right? So, like, I have no one to talk to before meeting you or any of these other guys. Zero, no one. I'm just going off of my own intuition and my own drive. So, I tried to really take it serious at least and try to absorb, like, so I don't freaking shoot myself. Don't shoot your eye out, kid. Right? Like, I don't want to be that guy.
Yep. And
So-
making a nice shot on the animal and ethical shots and all this
shot.
stuff too. Like I know
Yeah.
you know all that from fishing and with the way the striper fishery is
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff too, and
Super protective of the
you
species.
want to take care of the
Yeah.
species, right?
Yeah, you want to do the right thing. You don't want to feel bad about something or, have that looming in the back of your head, like, oh, should I have or should I not have? Like, just do it the right way. So I had the certification. I had my bow. So yeah, I spent some time. It was down in Rhode Island at that point because we were pretty much, this was wrapped up here. Rhode Island runs until January, so I got my Rhode Island, did some scouting down there, did a couple sits down there. I don't know anything, dude. I was just like, I'm in the woods.
Were you on the ground?
Walk. Yeah, I was like, a
Yep.
deer might walk by. Like,
Yep. It's great to start on the ground, by the way. It's
Yeah?
really it's good. That's how I started too. It's I don't know. I always hunted on the ground with a rifle, but it's great to start with a bow on the ground, even if you wanted to. I know you're super into the gear and everything now. You
Yeah.
already got stuff to get elevated, and you should. But
Right.
it's you can learn a lot from the ground if you spent the whole season on it.
yeah. I spent a lot of time. I mean, it was a super incredibly short-lived few days, if I spent out.
Did you see any deer?
One.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, nothing. No, super far away, like probably 75, 80 yards away.
Was it exciting at all to see that deer?
Oh, 100%. Just because it was finally like confirmation that I did something right, if that makes sense. Like,
Or at least in
there's-
an area where there was a deer.
Yeah, that there was deer and that like my approach was good. I was being quiet, right? And that I wasn't like fidgeting or doing something stupid that would have blown my my cover. So that was good. But if anything, it just really like got me tapped and tuned in to take it way more. Like, okay, like I basically was like invested at that point, right? Where I'm like, okay, I want to do this. This is amazing. This is the best thing in the world. I want to do more of this. I want, it's just, I was just all in at that point, like 1,000%. So I've spent a lot of time since then in the woods, walking, hiking, and, and doing things that were outside of my comfort zone. Like I'm, more of a, I don't know, just my family, my upbringing, my background, a little more urban than most, probably traditional hunters, so to speak, if you want to think of like a cliche. I know you and Pat talk about that a bunch,
Yeah.
breaking that divide of like, just, I don't know, just that mold of like traditional stereotypical hunter per se,
Yeah.
right? That you think of,
Yeah.
which I think is awesome. And I because I feel like I kind of fit that bill too, perhaps.
Totally. You're an
But-
adult onset hunter who didn't have a
AOD.
dad or somebody in the family. There's Lanny Benoit calling.
No big deal. Just have Lanny calling me. Kind of a celebrity.
Come meet and learn from the best hunters in the Northeast this summer at Huntstock, America's reinvented hunting show. Taking place August 11th through the 13th at Wildwood Farm in Westminster, Massachusetts, you can expect 3 days of hunters and brands coming together to celebrate hunting, meeting and learning from legendary hunters, winning prizes from our over $30,000 worth of giveaways, featuring more than 7 guns, by the way, bows, arrows, tree stands, saddles, camo apparel, grills, optics, and much more, and having the best time that you've ever had at a hunting show guaranteed. All ticket purchases to Huntstock come with a door prize entry to win some of those awesome door prize giveaways, which we'll draw at the end of each day. Kids under 12 are free. It's a family event, so bring your kids. For adults, it's $40 per day, or you can get a 3-day pass for $80, or you can get a 3-day super pass for $150, which will get you entry all 3 days, unlimited 3D archery, and double the door prize entries. For trackers and fans of the Benoit family, we're happy to announce that Woodman Arms has partnered with the Benoits to reproduce their legendary DVD series, which will be available for the first time at Huntstock this summer. They are likely to sell out, so make sure you get your tickets to Huntstock so you can get your hands on those DVDs before they're gone. If they don't sell out, they'll be available online at woodmanarms.com. With hunters from all generations at Huntstock like Lanny Benoit, Hal Blood, Jim Massett, Joe Donito, Rodney Elmer, and John Altman, all the way down to younger killers like John Lewis, Brett Joy, Neil Pendleton, Jake Bennett, Joey Davis, Isaac Young, Pat Burns, and hunting groups like Big Woods Bucks, Just Hunt Club, Mountain Deer, 80K Trackers, Northwoods Whitetails, Hunting Me, Hunt Suburbia, Stagger, and more. There's not a better show in the world to meet and learn from hunters of all age groups. And with a 3D archery course designed to give you real-life hunting scenarios, 50-plus hours of simultaneous seminars and live podcast programming on multiple stages, an outdoor classroom where you can learn from legends in an intimate setting, immersive experiences like following a blood tracking dog as he tracks down a deer, or learning how to butcher a deer, or getting up into a tree saddle for the first time and trying out different types of stands. Over 80-plus sponsors from the hunting world displaying and selling their new gear, and top brands that the Northeast has not seen around in a long time, like Vortex, Kuiu, Mossberg, Sig Sauer, Ruger, Darn Tough Vermont, Delta Mackenzie, Hoyt, Easton, and more. You do not want to miss this show. You can get your tickets at www.huntstockevents.com today, or you can get them at the door if we don't sell out. So this summer, we'll see you at Huntstock.
No big deal. I'll just have Lanny calling me. Kind of a celebrity.
Hey, Lanny, what's going on?
Oh, I found a loop tape here that we have to copy and make into whatever.
What'd you find?
A loop tape.
Oh, a loop tape. A good one?
Yeah, this is real one.
Yeah.
There goes the shot right there. Did you hear that?
He said, there goes the shot. Did you hear that? Yeah, I did.
There goes another one.
Here comes another one. Lanny's going, I'm in the middle of recording a podcast right now, Lanny. I answered you on the podcast because I can't not.
Yeah.
So I just put you on speakerphone. But
It's Lanny freaking Benoit.
Lanny's going through his old videotapes and trying to find some stuff that we can
That's awesome.
put out potentially on some new DVDs.
Oh, definitely.
I can't wait to see it, man. Pat Burns will figure out how to get it looped into some digital stuff, and we'll watch it.
Yeah, this is good. You're gonna like it.
Awesome. Hey, let me call you. I'll call you back after we're done with this podcast.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting.
No, of course not.
Okay.
See you, buddy.
Yeah, bye.
Such a good dude.
Oh, he's the man.
He's so awesome.
He was so excited. I don't know if you could hear when he first called, but he goes, "Oh, I found some footage
Nice.
on this old loop tape that
Good.
is awesome." And then you heard a, he goes, "There's the bang." You hear the bang. Yeah. So going from Lanny, maybe the best hunter ever to live and walk the face of the earth, to
Yeah.
a guy who's never hunted before, getting into it now so passionately and obsessively.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, dude. Bridging the gap
Yeah.
between, he grew up in literally we were talking about, you don't have a dad who hunted to teach you, right? His dad was the best ever to live and walk the face of the earth in hunting, and he was idolized by so many people. Still is, obviously. He's an icon. He's the Babe Ruth of hunting.
Oh yeah.
And then you get it's another analogy I've spoken with a few people about, where it's like, never before in the world has it happened, I think. You get the Michael Jordan, and then he has some sons, and the sons have this huge weight and expectation, oh, my dad was Michael Jordan, and it's like a hard thing to try to overcome, and there's pressure, and it doesn't really ever work out that those kids amount to being as
and then
good
you're
as
John
their
Morant,
greatest of all dad.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's ever happened before, but with Lanny he might be the exception, where he
continued that.
He was as good, and some people say, even his dad said, Lanny's a better hunter than I was.
Wow.
His dad said it, his own dad. So it's like, it's really rare to get that. And so you got that family with the rich history of passing it down through his father, through his grandfather, all that.
Yep.
You're a new hunter, and there's a lot of guys like you that didn't have that opportunity. That's part of what Hunt Stock's about, and Hunt Suburbia is about, is opening up the door to new hunters, that next generation of passionate people, and showing people that it's not as big of a barrier to entry as it might seem, like a huge hurdle.
Yeah.
To get really, really, really good, it is, and it's going to take a lot of time.
Yep.
But you can get into it and have fun and be a passionate, decent hunter your whole life, and you can do it and start at age 34.
Yep.
And very few are going to get really, really good at it starting late. But you have to have that extra, gene and drive that like you have and that Tyler Forbes has, and the people who have the time to actually focus and obsess over it. Because you're going to have sacrifices in your life to get that good.
There's a lot of time that goes into it. That's something you learn like almost immediately. But no, I think that was part of that transition. Kind of why I took so long to break that barrier myself. Because no one was stopping me from hunting, right? It's not like someone was like, you can't do that, you're not this type of person or from this type of area. No, it was not. No one was saying any of that stuff to me. Just in my own head. I'm like,
you were doing it.
Yeah, I was doing it. I was like, oh, I can't do that. That's like, I don't know. I don't know what the hell I thought. But just making up excuses for myself. So finally I was like, bow hunting. I know where my general area. I'm out in Zone 9 in Massachusetts, so just bow hunting fits the bill, man. I don't know. I don't think firearms will ever, not that I'm against firearms personally, but, between the wife has some sentiments towards it and some other stuff, which is understandable, and I respect that, obviously, but so I think the bow fits me perfect. It affords me some good opportunities already. I have a few areas of private access that I've gotten into that are the homeowners. That's one of the first things that they show, apprehension towards is, oh, are you going to bring guns? And I'm like, no, just bow. I just have a bow. I don't even own a gun. And they're like, oh, great, okay, because I don't want to hear it.
That's Massachusetts for you.
Yeah, it's Massachusetts, right? And I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it.
And suburban places across the whole country, too. It's like that.
Yeah, so that, I feel like just that alone affords me, like I have conversations with guys in a rod and gun club that I'm in, and they're like, oh, you can go back to this place or that place, or you've walked back over here, and I'm like, yeah, and they're like, oh, but you got the bow, that's why. And they're like, I got a shotgun, so I'm just Mr. Bang, just making a big bang sound, and everyone's going to come running looking for the, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's all this attention on you. Which, with a bow, you're out of sight, out of mind, you're stealthy, you're quiet.
That is a really awesome thing about it.
So that, to me, is really what I think drew me to it, and just originally, I'm like, all right, I could do this. This seems right up my alley, And also, the technology in the bows nowadays, I know, like, Brian Visco has talked about it, is insane. Like the learning, I'm not saying I'm no Olympic shot, but to be able to just pick up a bow and make a pretty damn good,
by the end of the day,
accurate shot.
And your first day, you can start, especially at 20, 30 yards, which is what, your effective range as a bow hunter most of the time up here anyway.
Right.
You can start hitting pretty close to that
pretty
by
damn
the
close,
by the end of the day.
I was hitting bulls. I was like, all right, like, now I just got to fine tune it and work on it consistently. Practice.
and wait until the deer's standing in front of you. Well, didn't you take a shot at a deer or no? You didn't.
No, turkeys.
Who was telling? Oh, yeah,
turkeys,
turkey.
yes.
Yeah.
I had 3 good looks, 2 really good looks this season on a turkey. And I did get some flutters, dude. And that was a weird feeling because
that's just on a turkey.
Well, that's exactly. I was like, am I a weird I don't know, but everything I was doing is, you know, it's target practice. It's not the same at all. And you hear people talk about it, but it's one of those things you got to feel it for yourself, you know?
Yeah.
You can't describe it, really.
You're going to miss a lot of deer, man.
Oh, dude.
I missed.
I believe it.
I think in 2019, the year I ended up killing those two up there, my first two nice ones. Right?
Yeah.
That year, I think I missed 3 bucks before I shot, and I just clean misses.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
Yeah.
And that was back when I was taking. I wasn't being as patient. I was like so excited, but that's part of being new to bow hunting.
Right.
I'd been a gun hunter my whole life, but I was new to bow hunting, and I was taking 40-yard shots, 45, and you know, seeing that there's, you know, maybe some twigs in the way, and I was just rushing and overdoing everything.
Yeah.
And then so I missed a bunch that year. I don't think I missed any last year, but you're gonna miss a lot early on, dude, and you're gonna learn from it, and it's good.
No, I can only imagine. I mean, like I said, I got some flutters so I was in an area of public down in Rhode Island, and I was walking this little path off of the main road. I was at this point I was probably 500 yards in, not super far, and every like 100 yards or 50 yards when I'm turkey hunting, I like to stop as I'm making my way to my spot, and I just like to listen. You know, stop for like 15, 20 seconds. Nothing. Okay, keep moving. But in this particular case, I heard some leaves crunching, and it sounded. I had been scouting before this. I knew kind of what turkeys sound like for the most part. I kind of know their movement, their pattern, how they sound, and I knew right away. I was like, "That's a turkey." Now I didn't have a visual. I didn't know if it was a tom or it could have been some hens, scratching away and feeding, but I was like, I'm here for turkeys. Let's just see what the action is. So I immediately set up off this path, maybe like 20 yards off. And when I say path, I'm talking like it's a really refined game trail. It's not really like a hiking or a walking path. It's just like a nice game trail, if that makes sense. It gets a lot of use. So I set up, I had a hen decoy, like a prone hen, and then like a standing, like alert hen. I got these little Avian X decoys. They're nice decoys. Look beautiful. Had a lot of faith in these things. And I did and then I have like one of those folding portable like ghillie net blinds that I just kind of crouch behind, kind of 4-way, kind of wraps around me, nice little shield. So I got behind that. I did my box call, did one series of box call, maybe medium volume, and I just shut up, because that's one thing I learned about with turkey calling from other guys. It's very easy to overcall, so they just kind of call and shut up. So I did that. Put that into practice, and I'm talking like within 3 minutes, I was on my phone. I'm like, oh, this is going to take a little bit. I figure like a set might take like 30 minutes for something to come in. I'm sitting there for like 3 minutes on my phone. All of a sudden I hear like crackling, right? Like leaves crunching. I was like, oh shit. So I like look real quick, kind of like through the ghillie net, and I see 3 toms. Two toms and a jake walking like in unison, stride, like side by side, maybe like 25 yards from my blind. And I was like, oh shit,
They see your decoys.
this is it. So the problem is, and I pieced this together after the fact, they were walking in front of me kind of down. The problem is there was a little bit of a ridge, little bit of a decline, so they're going down this way. I'm sitting up here. So by the time that I got sight of them, and it was, so they're, like I said, like 25, 30 yards, my decoys are still here, but there's a little bit of a knob. So I'm thinking because they were down further, they just didn't have the proper angle to see my decoy.
Did you make any noise? Were you making any calls at all?
At that point, when I saw them, yes.
Before? You just
No, I just did that one series, that one box call.
Yeah.
One box call got them in visual range. But the problem is, and that's why I think maybe that was my problem, is that they never saw the decoy, which is why I think they continued just on their same stroll down the path and actually behind me.
Yep.
The problem with that is I didn't range find anything behind me. I was only thinking the front game. So didn't range find anything behind me. And on top of that,
you're going to have to do that deer hunting too.
So that's one thing I learned right away. And then the second thing was I had a blowdown as my backdrop, which was great visually, but it also sucks because it's a big, knotty, burly tree with tons of branches, thick branches. Now I got to try to shoot through that.
Yeah.
And there was a little bit of an opening, so they finally came around. And at this point, I think they were like 29 yards, 30 yards. I was like, okay, I practiced at 30. I'm good. I'm comfortable at 30. But I'm like, I got to find that sliver in all these damn branches to shoot between.
Yep.
Dude, I took a shot. My pin was on his butt. They were stopped. So I got them to stop by doing a series of plucks. And first of all, hearing them gobble in unison that close, I'd never heard a turkey gobble that close.
Yeah.
That's a different feeling. Like
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
like almost like a punch in the gut of like, ooh. I was like, I want more of that.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yep.
So that got my heart rate going probably, I'm sure. And then my pin was on him. I was like, he's dead. I'm like, I'm going to get this. This is all day. This is an easy shot. And I shot, and my problem was, in all of this excitement and fast action, because I'm telling the story, but this probably happened in like 40 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Not even.
Yeah.
You know, this was so fast, pretty much. I had my bino harness still on my chest, which I've never shot any shots before. Never even practiced with my bino harness on. And knowing your bino harness, if you don't know, that sits on your chest and your binoculars sit in there. It's a nice, cutesy little system if you're scouting and mobile and this and that. But to shoot with it takes some practice, for sure. So I'm used to anchoring. You know, I kind of have a high anchor up on my eye instead of down by my mouth. But anyways, the arrow just kind of skipped across. Must have hit the fletching must have hit the bino harness, because I felt a little bit of
Something happened.
something happened, and it went flying off high and left.
Yep.
Now with being a bow hunter, they don't necessarily immediately run away. Especially turkeys are a little dumb. They're really smart, but they're also really dumb. So they're just looking around. I got a second arrow, drew back, but at this point they're obviously on high alert. They knew something's not right. And they look right. They kind of do the whole head tilt, weird bird thing, and they look at me and they take off running. And I was like, "Fuck!" But I retrieved my arrow. So that means a lot of stuff that you learn within like that 45-second period of time. Like, number one, range find things all around you, not just your immediate like frontal vicinity where you think you're gonna shoot. Second of all, I probably could have done a better job. Instead of just immediately going into calling, I probably could have trimmed a couple shooting lanes behind me on that blowdown. I have pruning shears and always on my bag. I could have spent a couple seconds doing that. That wouldn't have taken much time, just to give me a better chance at something if it were to come behind me.
Yep.
And then also practice with all your gear. And I know I've heard that a million times.
Also, dude, maybe...
Or just don't even shoot with the bino harness on.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
Bino harnesses aren't really that... I don't know.
I don't shoot with it now. I don't wear it now.
Useful in the Northeast at all, I don't think. I mean, I got one last year when I went to North Dakota, and you're doing a lot of spotting and stalking, and it's good to have there. So I practiced with it on before that, because I knew that I might have to shoot with it
scenario,
on. But in the Northeast, if I'm going to use binos, which you do in bow season, gun season I don't take it, but bow season I just have it under.
Yeah.
Either under, or if you're in your stand, you have it hanging from
something.
Yeah. Hanging from your tree, or if you're in your saddle, it's right in front of you, and you can just pick it up and put it back. I don't like to have anything in front of me during bow season.
Oh yeah, 100. I mean, lesson learned. It's something that like looked cool. The idea was cool to me.
I don't even know. Do people use bino? Because here's the other beautiful thing about hunting, is you're already a better turkey hunter than me. I don't know anything about turkeys. I've gone once or twice as a cameraman, but never even, shooting myself. I just, right now, I don't have the desire to get into it, because I know that it would, I said it a million times, I'd be obsessed with it as soon as I did, and I can't take another obsession right now, so I avoid it. But you're already a better turkey hunter than me. There's so many different ways to hunt, species to hunt, small game, waterfowl, turkeys, bear, deer, everything, right? The only thing I'm good at is deer hunting, but I love that more than anything.
Yeah.
I focus everything on that. And but see, you're into hunting already, and you're a better turkey hunter than a lot of people, because anybody who's never even turkey hunted. So
sure, I'll take that default. I'll take that default trophy.
That's awesome, dude. And that can grow your passion for deer hunting, and you're gonna get.
It's a gateway drug.
Yep.
I would call it that for sure.
Yep.
That definitely got my juices flowing, where I'm like, all right, this is dope. This is cool.
And
I want to do this every day.
Anticipating what that's going to feel like when a big buck
It's
is
a
coming
lot of
in
practice,
like that.
though. It's a lot of really good. It's the same principles, right? There's just the stealth characteristic. There's entry, exit. You don't want to bump a bird off of the roost. You want to do all your preseason scouting.
Yep.
You want to prepare your gear.
There's definitely a lot of similarities.
There's a lot of similarities. I mean,
But a ton
I
of
remember,
differences,
so
too.
Tyler, this is one thing. So Tyler dropped me a pin. We were talking about going down to Rhode Island together, and he's like, "Yeah, we'll meet over here." Blah blah blah. He ended up not meeting up with me. His kid was sick and stuff. So that's and I totally understand that. I deal with that stuff all the time too, as do you, I'm sure. And so he drops me a pin, and now this was the first time I had been to a spot that was totally blind, where like I've never scouted before in the day.
Yeah.
Didn't have a lay of the land. Yeah, I got Onyx, and yeah, I can see Topo and stuff, but like, that's not telling me anything. Like, that's not really indicating like, okay, this is a low point. It's super washed out and muddy.
Onyx
or this is where all the
too
briars are
not that great because there's not a lot of definition in it.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Yeah, they're not as fine as like fine tuned
Yeah.
as some of the other apps I've seen. I think like
Or physical maps that you can
yes.
really see, like the old school
Everyone.
ones.
right.
Yeah, you got to get boots on the ground to understand what it's actually going to look like. It never looks like what you think it's going to look like.
Oh, right. So he sends me this pin. I park. First off, I think my entry was a little bit off from where he told me to enter. It was like a rough guesstimate, honestly. And then, so that was really good practice, right? I mean, it's 4:15, 4:10 in the morning. It's pitch black. And it's not that it was my first time in the woods alone and in the dark, which by the way,
Yes, it is.
that is that is a genuine thing that you have to kind of get past, right? Like fishing, you don't have to
Most
really
of the
deal with
people
that.
in the entire world cannot fathom
Yeah,
being
that
in the
idea.
woods in the pitch dark.
Dude, that's the first
Without
thing
a light on,
people
without
ask me.
Yeah.
Anytime I've mentioned any of my hunting stories so far, which mind you, very minimal, but anytime I've ever mentioned something, they're like, "So you go in the dark?
Dude,
In the woods?
it's so awesome.
What about
in
the
there in dark,
coyotes?
man. Yep.
What about is there wolves? Everyone has, it's all these like misconceptions, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
But so yeah, dude, that's like that was like how it was kind of crazy. Like I'm just like, all right, just trudging through, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to this spot, and here I am. Here's my drop pin. And I'm like, I'll figure it out. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was really fun and interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like to
Just
get
the
there finally,
navigation
and I
part.
got there just barely, like when just the most minute amount of sunlight was starting to come up, and I was like, all right, I can get my bearings, and I'm gonna put my blind here. What the hell is that? It's a big rock. Okay, maybe I'll set up a little bit above that to get that out of my eyesight. Just stuff like that, just kind of having to wing it. Didn't end up seeing any turkeys or even hearing any that day. I got a bunch of coyotes howling. That's probably why the turkeys were ghost mode. But either way, that was excellent experience, excellent practice. So that way, all this little bit helps. Like the whole hope is that by deer season, I've been up and down a tree stand. I've been hanging, hang-ons, all that type of stuff. I'm doing from now. So that way, come fall, I'm set. Am I going to be perfect? No. I'm gonna make a shit ton of mistakes, but I'm eager for that. Like it's gonna happen, and that's all gonna be a learning experience. You know what I mean? Like honestly, I think it'd be really weird if everything went perfect. That's probably never happened. I don't know. There's gonna be something that's gonna happen.
Yes.
So
100%. Dude, wait until you have like a 2-hour walk in the dark somewhere. Like you find there are some spots where it's gonna take you a really long time to get in. And it's so fun to be in there in the dark that long. It's just
early or late. Because late, I gotta be honest, late creeps me out a little more.
I don't get creeped out. I just don't like the walk out because there's not really anything looking forward. The walk in, you have the anticipation
of sunlight.
It's like I can't wait. No, the anticipation of the day.
Yeah.
The monster buck's gonna come out. I'm gonna kill him today.
Yeah.
And that perpetual.
I gotcha.
Right. When you're walking out, your hunt's over. You're just
day's done.
You're just going home.
Yeah.
So the walk out just kind of sucks more. The walk in is fun.
Yep.
It's amazing. The anticipation level and everything.
Yeah.
I mean. Yeah, the walkout just feels like work. The walk-in feels like play, kind of. But it's a beautiful thing to be out there in the pitch dark. At my deer camp in Vermont, sometimes when we're not even hunting, during fishing season or something, we'll go out and fish May or June, or sometimes we'll do ice fishing. And I like going out and just going up one or two ridges behind deer camp, and just sitting there in the dark.
Yep.
I've done that a few times and sit on the ground. And you're just to be in the woods in the dark and sit and listen at stuff. Obviously, you're hearing owls and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
but,
it's beautiful.
There is a piece in it, man. It's really cool.
Yep.
And you definitely shouldn't be afraid. I think maybe when I was a really little kid.
Yeah.
I can remember when I was like 8 or 9, and my dad was taking me hunting, and you'd walk in. You know, at deer camp, you got these paths that your grandfather walked, and then your dad walked them, and your uncle, and they're historically like grandpa was the first one to go this far.
Yeah.
And here's the path he took, and
Yeah.
they put tacks in the trees, and then over a certain amount of years, you don't need the tacks in the trees at all. The path is like visible in front of you because everybody walks there, and then, you know, you have your own opening day spots and your defined spots, and you know, you might start off with 4 or 5 guys walking up the main trail that, you know,
And you would
my
fork off.
grandfather did, and then you fork off. But I remember being when you're the last one in line as a little kid, like you're in the back.
Yeah.
That was always a little. You'd be like, "What's behind? Anything behind me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything behind me?
Yeah.
No, there isn't.
Yeah.
You know, but being in the back always felt kind of the most dangerous.
Well, no, I mean, no joke. What is this? This probably would have been January, February sometime. Was the first time I was probably in the woods, like when it was pitch black.
Yep.
My first time in my life at 34 years old, when I was like, because even fishing, like, it's different. You're not really, you know, like maybe like years ago, you scrape through some back part of some lake or some pond early morning or late night you're fishing, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But to be like in the middle of the woods, like that was like literally, that was literally like again 34, and this is the first time this happened to me because I was out scouting this piece of woods, and I was 2 miles from my truck. My truck was 2 miles parked on the road. I was 2 miles into the woods, and it was like sunset. I was like, it's so pretty out here. It's sunset. Great. I'm like looking around like an idiot, all this stuff that I've never like seen before. And then I was like not taking into account, I have a 2 mile walk back and it's through a bunch of thick shit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it must have been, I don't know, probably by like at this point, and mind you, this is winter. So probably like 8:30, 8:45 at night by the time I make it like within like a quarter mile to my truck. And I got like, I hear coyotes going off all around me. I'm hearing like leaves and branches snap. So of course it's like got the eerie like, ooh, I gotta get out of here, you know.
First time eeriness.
Yeah, first time eeriness. But now I'm like, fuck it, I don't care. Like nothing's gonna. Now I get it. Like I understand. Like, you know, coyotes not gonna come like rip your face off. That's like urban myth. I always tell people, if I were like laying down on the ground with like an open wound and not moving for like 6 hours, sure. A coyote might come over and like take a nibble and try to like see what's up with me, but no, they're not gonna like take you down or like you know, eat you or something. Like that's not gonna happen.
Now, if you live in mountain lion territory, you get a little bit different.
Different situation going.
That was the cool thing when I went to North Dakota. It was like, all right, there's rattlesnakes can kill me, and I almost stepped on 2 when I was out there.
That's so wild.
And then,
they have scorpions out there too.
I think there is scorpions. I didn't. Yeah, there is, but I didn't see any. And then there's mountain lions. And it was freaking, I just can't say enough about this place. Was so beautiful where I went. And I was out there 4 or 5 days before anybody else went. I went out and just by myself.
So you're at camp solo?
By myself for,
awesome.
I think 4 days. And I'd wake up early and I'd go scout, walk 2 or 3 miles across the plateau to a place where I could overlook everything. You know, it was just so awesome. And the one that I remembered, you know, really vividly was going into national grasslands land. You can't drive in there. There's a gate. So I had my rental truck, and I drive. You can drive a lot of this rancher's place. He's got 2-track everywhere, and you get up to the gate, and then here's the entrance to the national grasslands. And the place the rancher told me to go, he's like, yeah, get all the way down to this, you know, this knob here on the edge of the plateau, and you're going to see a huge bend in the river, and you're going to see, you know, great bedding areas down there. That's a good spot to go. So I parked. You don't realize how far of a walk it is, and when it's like grassland, it's different than it's just a flat plateau. Yeah. Nice, beautiful grass, super windy, and it was, I don't know, it was a 2.5 mile walk to that point, but just on a flat, you know, basically, you know, no landmark. So it seemed like it took forever. Yeah. And then I stayed there until sunset, the most beautiful sunset of all time. And I wasn't scared at all, but on the way back, I was thinking to myself, there are mountain lions out here. Yeah. And if one's going to come through that grass, I will never hear it. I will never nothing. So I'm totally cool with it. If the random 1 in a million, you know, it happens,
happens to be right here.
Then
next
it's
to me.
whatever. It
Yep.
is what it is. I was walking back to this beautiful sunset, and the moon was coming down at the same time, and it was just like 8 million colors in the sky, and it was freaking awesome.
That's crazy.
And like that, those are the experiences you get.
Yeah.
You know, doing new shit and just enjoying hunting. You know.
Absolutely.
So, let's talk about a little bit. So, what have you learned so far this year? You've done some shed hunting. You talked about getting out of your comfort zone. Like, what are some things so far that just in the scouting early? We've got many months left till season, but the early scouting. What are you learning that kind of surprised you?
That surprised me. Oh boy. I think I'm learning a lot about habitat and that like certain areas that look good on paper, right? You know what I mean? Don't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean that deer are going to be there, and like don't take the smaller slivers of land and the smaller parcels for granted. In fact, I'm kind of gravitating towards that more. For example, when I first moved to where I moved, there's a big town forest nearby, and I put a lot of time into this particular area. Scouting it heavy. This was during the winter, so it was easy to do that, getting accustomed to tracking in the snow and stuff. And especially for a new person, I thought that was a great time to learn because it's easier.
You
right?
can see sign.
I can see the
tracks.
sign. I can see the tracks. And I knew what scat and all that stuff looked like, and I knew what rubs were and stuff. But now analyzing it and being able to see it for really what it is now and understanding why it's there in a certain area, those pieces are starting to come together little by little. No master, obviously, but more and more it's coming together, the bigger picture stuff. But anyways, like I said, I spent a lot of time in that bigger plot of land, and it's great. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely some deer in there. But it's also understanding like there's other people that go there too, and it gets a lot of attention, and there's a lot of traffic, foot traffic. And I understand the deer, and I totally agree with you, by the way. You've said it before on here, like about how suburban deer are more accustomed to humans, therefore they're more tolerant to your smell, not resilient or, going to ignore it, but just more tolerant to a certain extent, versus like a deer out in the middle of Maine and freaking a million acres of woods, right? So, but yeah, this certain area just gets a lot of pressure. But so anyways, I find myself now looking a lot at like little slivers of land, connecting pieces, right? Little elbows, little forks. I have no problem asking permission, knocking on people's doors. I've built a very nice relationship with a couple nice ladies in my town that way.
Oh, you did?
Older, widowed women, stuff like that. Super sweet ladies.
I see your game, bro.
Yeah.
I see where you're going now.
Hey, you need me to mow this grass and pick up heavy stuff? I got you. No, just and then I'm learning also too a bit more about.
Are you reading the obituaries, and then how long are you waiting?
Imagine how crazy that would be.
What's your
that was like a
custom? Is it
service?
6 days or what?
Yeah.
Like what?
Bring flowers on the
How many
7th
days
day.
later?
Jesus, it's so morbid. Just took a dark turn.
It's actually not a bad idea though, guys. Who are willing to do that. That sounds.
So
we just came up with something there.
You know what I have done? I've done that with with new construction. If there's a new development, go target a new construction development. People move in, they're very like receptive and nice and oh yeah, I'm meeting the neighbors, and everyone's like very heartfelt at that
Yep,
point. You
yep.
know, get in while it's hot, get in nice and early, and go talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, this used to be open here. We used to cut across this field. Blah blah blah. Just make up a story. Just make it sound like you've been hunting that plot for like 7 years. No one has to know.
Well, there probably is a ton of guys who have been hunting that plot.
That's what I'm saying. But get in early and get permission, and there you go. But anyways, I don't know, man. I just.
What about your range? Because when I first took you out, I remember the first place we went, you were like, man, I don't think I've gone this far yet. And we weren't that far, but I remember telling you that, Neil Pendleton extended my range when I went with Neil.
Yeah.
Tracking.
Yep.
Before that, I thought, 7 or 8 miles in a day walking was going to be a hell of a day.
Right.
And it still is, but... 14 and 15 really isn't that bad either.
Yeah, so
you get a second wind.
I love that though. It's all so first off, it's definitely perspective, and what your body's accustomed to, and what you're willing to push your body to, and also having respect for like what your limits are. And everyone should understand what their limits are, and don't go crazy. push yourself, but don't go crazy because there's, some guys have some health problems or whatever, right?
Yeah,
But-
if you're fat or you got a heart condition, don't overdo it.
Keep your ass at home or just
Get in better shape
Yeah.
and then do it. But
Yeah.
and especially if you're hunting solo, dude, really don't overdo it. A lot of guys
Correct.
die of heart attacks in
then
the
you're
woods.
assed out by yourself.
Especially
in the
trying to
woods.
drag a deer too if you're by yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So, no, I would say so. At first, I was doing my problem is I was scouting slowly, so it wasn't endurance; it was time. Typically, the time it would take me to cover a particular area, you would have done it in like 45 minutes to an hour and a half.
Yep.
I was taking like 2.5 hours to cover that same piece. Why? Because it's all new to me. And I'm really like absorbing, and I'm really overthinking. I've talked about this with overanalyzing things maybe too much, and taking too much time to like every little sign. There's scat here, there's scat there. The scat is gonna be everywhere. Like unless there's literally piles. I don't care about
looking
scat
at
now.
scat piles like astronomy or astrology, right? Like,
Yeah, look at this sign.
why are they making a triangle?
Yeah. It's like crop
That literally,
crop
yeah.
symbols or something within like scat.
Yeah.
But
That is being serious though, that you can overanalyze and it'll drive you nuts.
Yeah.
And
But I was wasting a lot of time that way.
Yeah.
So much time in an area that I should. Now I find myself, I'm not, like you say on the all I'm looking for now is rubs and scrapes. Like I'm not, and like well-defined runs. And then in relation to those rubs and scrapes,
where
are they
bedding?
where are they coming from? Exactly.
Where are they eating? Yep.
Right. The bedding and the feed, the food source between that, or like a water source between that somewhere. It's got to be either on the tail end of that or in between it.
Sorry, I just got a freaking
No,
itch
you're
on my
good.
back.
You're like a bear.
I need to get a bear scratcher there.
Nice.
That's perfect.
You should get like a rubbing post there or something.
I think so. Signpost rub.
So that's kind of what I'm focusing on now. So it allows me to cover more ground, and because I'm able to cover more ground,
Yep.
I'm able to utilize the time that I have out in the woods. Because usually I'm doing this after I put in some work in the morning, after I drop my kids off at daycare.
Yep.
I got to be back at say 3 or 4 to pick them up. Whatever it is, right? So I'm trying to maximize that time. How do you do that? Be more efficient. How do you be more efficient? Well, know what the hell you're looking for.
Yeah. A lot of that is just going to come with time and
Time.
experience, though, too. It's like
Yeah.
a quarterback reading the field, and field vision and a quarterback's a thing, right? You got guys like Tom Brady, and then
Right.
the greats
Can read
that
the play.
can just they go out there and it's second nature.
Yep.
They see everything developing. They
Yep.
know the best decision to make, and it's usually always right on.
Right.
So it's just quarterback vision is what you end up getting with experience.
Reading the woods and
once you get past the overanalyzing,
yeah.
And then you get young guys that are stupid, like guys like Johnny Manziel that had all this, he had all this great opportunity
Yeah.
and athleticism and won the Heisman, and he just didn't. He made bad decisions all the time and didn't have that quarterback vision that
yeah.
you need. But that's like the guy who just
game
constantly
smarts.
overanalyzes.
Yeah. So that's one thing in particular. So in terms of like the endurance factor, I'd say, I think the most that you and I did, we were I think that was like, I think we had logged like between 5 to 7 miles, and be close to 7 miles, I think it was.
I think in one shoot, yeah. We did 10, we bounced around. I think we did 10 miles one day total.
Yeah. So that was definitely the most I had ever done. I think the most I'd ever done before that by myself was maybe like 4.5, something like that, close to 5 in a single day, which isn't terrible, But I think the difference is your pace. It's not the distance, it's the pace. Again, my pace was slower because, and also this is something we talked about, like your ability to scout and in tandem shed hunt is great. It's fucking amazing. That was something like I really learn and try to pick up on and get better at, because I was still in the mindset of my brain like shutting down basically halfway and going, I am shed hunting now. I am now scouting now. You know what I mean? Like
tunnel vision, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I couldn't do both, but now I'm not perfect, but I'm definitely getting better at being able to do both. But I think that's helped in that don't look at. Yeah, I see scat, but I'm not looking for scat, right? Like I'm looking for that real, like that community scrape, that big scrape, or that big signpost rub that looks fresh, where you could tell it was used last season or the year before, within 2 years or so.
Yeah. Kind of look for macro stuff, not micro.
Correct.
Look for the big sign.
Correct. Because
big
the micro
antlers.
stuff is already the sheds. Like that's already got me like That's too micro.
But even when you're shed hunting, I was like, look for big antlers. Like, look for the big tine and something that's going to stick out a little bit, because then you can filter through and scan stuff.
Yep.
And, use your computer brain a little bit to go, all right, at least I know from that scan there's nothing really big there.
Right.
Yeah. There's nothing big and obvious. And once you can just sort out that the big and obvious stuff isn't there, and you start to move through it, but you'll start to end up picking up on small stuff too, like finding a spike antler every once in a while. But yeah, it's look for the big sign, the big rubs that are orange and popping out at you, and because those are the ones you're going to want to hone in on anyway. Once you find those, the smaller stuff's just going to start poking out.
Because I was turkey scouting when I found my first shed this season by myself. I was actually with my dad. He's behind me. I said, Pops, I was like, let's jump over this little stone wall here. I said, let's jump over this wall, because I said, we've been that way already.
So your dad went turkey hunting with you?
No, he was scouting with me at this point. Okay. Yeah. I said, but yeah, he did go with me opening day.
That'd be cool if you get your dad into hunting. That'd be awesome.
Oh, he's already he's about it. He's got his crossbow. He's got his mass license thing. He's
already gonna hunt with you. That's
he's
cool,
ready
man.
to go. He's gonna come up with me that private piece that I have and all that. He's really excited. He comes out with me every now and then. We change out cameras and do all that stuff together. So
awesome. Bring him to hunt stock.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah,
absolutely. I was telling him about it. He's all about it. But yeah, we were just turkey scouting, and I was like, let's go this way. I said, I haven't gone this way yet before. I don't know why. I just had this random impulse to go to the certain path. It was also kind of path of least resistance, which makes sense because deer do the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. They're lazy, same as us. And I was like, I don't know, 30 feet past this little stone wall, and I looked down at my feet, and I said, oh, look at this. I got it in the truck. It's a little, what is it, a little...
I saw that you finally found
4-point.
Yeah, that's great, dude.
4-point left side, I think.
How awesome was that?
Oh, it was great. That was like the best feeling in the world. Because at that point...
You stepped over that one when you were with me, dude, I think, right?
That one still hurts me.
I love that one.
I don't know how I did that.
I really want to
I literally avoided... I showed you my path, my tracker on Onyx.
Yeah, it was great
I
there.
Missed it by...
It was a hard one to see, though. It was just one of those angles that was pretty hidden.
Yeah. That's what I'll tell myself. But it was good to find that other one on my own,
yeah, dude, totally.
It was definitely a good feeling because at that point I think I had put in 60-something miles already, which I know for some other shed hunters that's not a lot. Some guys put in you guys put in some freaking mileage, but for not ever really doing this stuff ever, and just putting in like 67. I think by the time it was all said and done, I think I'd put in. I know it's not like shed season's still totally done. You could still technically shed hunt right now, but I think I put in maybe I think it was like 76 or 75 miles or something.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
It's really good, and when you break it down, I mean, it sounds like a lot. I remember when I heard Pat Burns did 600 miles looking for the electric buck sheds. I thought to myself, like, how that's got to be a lie. No way you can do that. But you can tack on miles. When you're obsessed, you can tack on miles.
Yeah.
I think it probably did 250 or 300. I don't actually keep a running tally, but you want to go back and look at my steps, you can see the big one. That's probably 250 or 300 miles this year, and it doesn't seem like that because you're obsessed with it.
Yep.
It's just like when you're working, you're doing something you love. It doesn't feel like you're working. When you're out there shed hunting, it doesn't. Those miles are easy to pack on.
Well, it's an activity, so it's like two things I correlate that to, or I compare it to. One, it's an activity and it's something that you're passionate about, right? So it keeps your mind busy, and I don't know, that's I couldn't do say 10 miles on a treadmill.
No.
Or 10 miles just walking around your neighborhood.
No.
No, I'd go just run into traffic and kill myself.
One of my favorite parts. Yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just gonna say, but doing an activity, it's keeping your mind busy. Yeah, you could eat 10 miles all day, and that's why I think fishing is the same way for me. Like my wife will be like, "All right, see you later when you're coming home," and I'll be like, "Oh, come on at 3," and I'll come home at 7. She's like, "You were gone from 5 a.m. From 4 or 5 a.m. until 7 o'clock at night. You're coming home. Have you even eaten today?" And I'm like, "Oh shit!" Now that you mention it, no.
I don't eat.
And that's mind blowing, and it's like. How do you not eat? For 14 hours I didn't eat or drink anything?
I don't eat in the tree stand, man. I just don't.
But again, it's when if you're preoccupied and you can cover that much time without eating or doing anything just because your mind is that busy, preoccupied doing something else. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
What were you going to say?
What was I going to say? Well, you said something about, you can't run 10 miles or on a treadmill or whatever.
Yeah.
you'd drive yourself nuts. I watched the Air movie, the Michael Jordan movie
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
on about Nike signing him back in '84. It's a freaking awesome movie. I watched it in here, actually, in the studio. First movie
nice.
I watched in here.
I haven't watched it yet.
And the best part is it's not really a spoiler, but at the end, fucking Matt Damon, who throughout the whole movie is just kind of a little out of shape, and it's a run. Nike's
I saw him. He looked like super fat in it.
Yeah. Nike's a running company,
Right.
and their shoes were for runners and stuff, and they're picking on him throughout the movie, like, you should like get into running, man. It clears your head. And finally, at the end of the movie, like, he goes to a track, and he like sees people like stretching and like jogging around him, and he just like, all right, he starts running very slowly, and he takes like 20 steps, and he's like, nah. He goes, fuck this. This is the dumbest thing ever. He just walks off, and it's so, because really, dude, there's nothing fun about just running. I know some people love it, but you might as well be in the woods if you're doing it.
Yeah,
looking for
exactly.
antlers.
So it's
or
another
doing
good
something.
excuse for like exercise too, right?
It is.
So,
It's good exercise.
Absolutely.
You tell me, I don't know. I don't know. You won't find a fat guy that did 600
shed like
miles.
no, I shed like 12 to 15 pounds. I cut
Yeah.
just by starting all this since like November, December this past year.
Yep.
That's not a lot, but like
It's really good for
I think
you, man.
the thing I'm trying to is like I didn't change anything else. I still eat like a 17-year-old boy. I still like, you know what I mean? Like it's stupid. Like I didn't change anything else in my diet or anything. It was just like just more active. I'm moving. I'm not sitting on my ass, at home doing nothing versus I'm in the woods and going up inclines and decline this and that and like sweating my ass off.
You burn a lot of calories just sitting in a tree stand. Sitting still all day long, you burn a ton of calories. I don't know if you know that, by the way. I think it's like 800 or 1,000 calories. If you can sit still all day, you burn 800 or 1,000 calories sitting.
That's bananas.
And if you're doing that and not eating, which I wouldn't recommend. I mean, if you
No,
for some
right,
reason
right.
I just don't get hungry when I'm in the stand.
Yeah. I would be too paranoid that at that exact moment. It's just like fishing. How many times I've gotten on a massive bite, and it's at the exact moment that I'm
Picking a
pulling out my
sandwich up.
phone, or I'm like scratching my face, or I'm like doing something. Right? It's always at that exact moment, and you're like, no, that was massive, and you miss it. That's it. You had your opportunity. Now wait another like 30 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I feel like that would happen to me in hunting.
Totally, and it will. It happened the first year I started bow hunting in Massachusetts. It was actually, because I looked it up the other day. It was 2018 was the first year I was like, you know what? I had my bow since 2014. I bought that Icon, and I went to Vermont a few times.
Yep.
Just for a weekend or two to bow hunt. But 2018, I was like, I need to, like, this is getting ridiculous. I can't travel 4 hours every time I want to bow hunt.
Yeah.
I was like, why don't I see if there's any deer in Mass? I didn't know anything about deer populations, or if there was. In my head, I was like, Massachusetts
It's too populated.
is going to be a shitty place to hunt. That's why I drive to Vermont.
Yeah.
But my place in Vermont is way worse hunting than
It's so funny, man.
near here. So I just picked up my bow and I went to a big patch of woods, the closest one that I could find. When I zoomed out on a map that was the most green, because I was still in that mindset of there's only going to be deer in big woods.
Yeah.
There's no deer in those pockets.
Yep.
And I brought my bow, went into the woods in the dark in the morning in a place I'd never been, and sat down on the ground. And it was a slight drizzle day too. I still remember it. And I was just picked a random spot. I was walking. It was a nice, like, what looked like some funnels, but I didn't know shit about bow hunting.
Yeah.
All I'd ever done was gun hunt, really. Sitting there on the ground, drizzling, and my bow, I put my bow to my right. I got a big pine tree to my back, and I'm leaning against that. Bow is on the ground to my right, and I'm looking at my phone at fantasy football. Another thing I don't do anymore.
Yeah.
Fantasy football. I don't even really watch football at all anymore because I'm just too into hunting.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it, and I just get this feeling. I'm like, something's watching me. I get that feeling, and I look over, and there's a buck that looked like, that one on the left there is maybe a little smaller, but it was a 6-pointer or a 5-pointer.
Yeah.
And he was like this.
Oh yeah.
Nose up in the air, rack was back, like touching his back essentially.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, this is sweet. But I messed up because if I wasn't looking at my phone, I would have
been
maybe
Drew.
seen him walk in, and I would have been ready and whatever. But now I was at this point. This deer was only 15 yards from me,
Dude.
and it was drizzle, so it's quiet. You don't even hear him coming in.
Yeah.
And I I have my bow on my right. I was like, I can't do anything with that. So he's going like that. I knew enough to know that if I, somebody who's new might just pick it up and like try to do that. There's no way.
Yeah.
You have to at that point. If he's right there
just
on
enjoy
you,
the moment.
You can't move and get your bow.
Right.
So I just waited for him to. He eventually just turned right in the spot he was in and started circling behind me like this.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, all right, he got behind a bunch of laurel.
Yeah.
And I was able to get on my knee and pivot and get the bow in position and everything. And he was behind this patch of laurel now, standing there for a while. And there's an opening between two laurel bushes.
Yeah.
He was going to keep going that way, and it was going to be like 15 yards perfect.
Perfect, yeah.
And I'm like ready for it.
Yeah.
And like I have my my release on, and it's through the D loop, and I somehow like pulled on it. I wasn't ready to draw, but I just barely tugged on it, and the arrow flung out of it, hit the pine tree, and boing boing, made a bunch of noise. And he took a couple bounds, and then stood behind another bush, and almost still gave me. He was there for another 20 minutes trying to figure out what was going on. Almost gave me another shot. Eventually, he just walked with the bush in between me and him, walked away, not giving you a shot. They're going to do that a lot too. You're going to find that, but that even there, I learned a lot. And it's just like, dude, if it's really hard for hunters of our generation to not look at your phone while you're hunting.
Yeah.
And there's no way I'll ever be able to just not do that. I'm going to look at my phone.
Yeah.
I'm working and stuff while I'm hunting a lot too.
Yeah.
But knowing that it will bite you in the ass.
Yep.
At some point, that is going to bite you in the ass.
Yeah. I'm hoping. That's kind of my hope. Is like, like with you too, right? You can technically kind of work from wherever. I'm afforded that same benefit too. That's nice. So that's what I'm kind of hoping is like just with time.
Yeah.
Being able to put in more cycles and more time than the average guy.
Yeah.
I'll be able to get better and have these learning experiences up front, faster, more of them, more often, just so that way I can nick all those kind of mistakes out of the way and say, all right, never again.
Yep.
Not going to do that one again. Not going to do that one again. I'm going to prepare this way or that way, get better, so on and so forth. I mean, that's the hope. How it'll shape up, we'll know more, come the fall.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely excited for it, man, because I got a bunch of cameras out. I got 12 cameras out there right now that are all active. I have another 8 in my truck that I got to put out, 7 or 8 in my truck that I got to put out.
Yep. We've got some fun spots. The one spot that you and I scouted a lot is there's definitely going to be a mature buck going by that scrape at some point.
Yep.
I know right now it's all doe group in there.
Yep.
But
which I'm not even mad about.
That's going to be a 6 spot, dude.
That's kind of the way I see
at least
I kind of use the same mentality of fishing, right? Like you can't find the fish, find the birds.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can't find the birds, find the other fishermen. That's the real sketchy way to do it, right? So it's the same thing with hunting. I feel like if you can't find the buck, or if you're not, just stay close to those does, right? Keep a sharp eye on your doe group.
100%.
And the bucks are going to come through one way or another, just based out of just pure necessity, right? They need them, so they're going to come through regardless.
Yep.
But no, I'm really excited just to get the season going and. It's starting soon. I told my dad once I'm going to try to see we get out and hang up more stands. I have 5 in the garage right now. Maybe you'll give me a hand with a couple.
Yeah, dude, definitely. I'm just so far behind on so much shit right now, too.
Of course. And likewise, and you got stands to put up too. So give me a call, dude. I don't care.
I still have stands to take down.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I got a climber sitting in a tree, and I've got a couple of sticks and my saddle platform up in a tree. I got to get those down and back home.
Yeah.
It's nuts, dude. Just trying to find the time now, and I've got cameras I got to pull in and refresh.
You got
batteries.
way more shit. You need a management company.
Yeah, it would be awesome.
You're like the equivalent of someone that owns a bunch of property, right? Like a landlord that just owns 45 apartment buildings, and you can't do it all. You can't mow all that grass and fix leaks and change locks all the time. You need
I got to do all my own hunting stuff.
I know, but if there was someone that needed it, it would be like you or someone would need a full-time job of changing cameras and running shit like that.
Hire somebody to help with the businesses will be the first move, and then that'll free stuff up. But
absolutely,
it's an exciting time, dude. A lot of fun stuff going on. It's been fun helping you out a little bit and taking you on some stuff, and
it's been huge.
It's gonna be a lot of fun,
and that's a huge thank you, man. There's it was a total random shot in the dark. Telling that story real quick, I basically sent Pat a penned DM like love letter, just trying to like, you know,
A
I don't
little
know.
vial of your blood was sent.
Yeah, because it's so hard. I don't know. I figure I was like, this guy probably gets a bunch of DMs. Like, I don't fucking know. But I was like, let me just send something, and you know, who knows? Maybe he'll reply, maybe he won't. You know, and it took a while, and you were like, oh, I'm so. But I was like, I don't care, dude. Like, I know you got a million things going on all the time, so I just appreciated the the reply and your openness and willingness just to like I told you, like just even meet with me in the first place. That I wasn't a serial killer. Hey, go meet me in the woods at this time. You know what I mean? Like that's weird, right? Like that is kind of weird to do that and have that openness to do that with someone, a stranger at that, is a big deal. You know, and wanting to like give back and help out a new hunter. But I tried to at least convey in my message to you originally, like I wasn't just any old random somebody. I tried to convey that like I'm passionate about this, and especially at that point, I was like.
Yeah.
I had no basis to put anything to hang up on, right? It was
Yeah,
just
I think what it was like for me, the reason I replied back was, well, I mean, I replied to everybody, but the reason I was like, yeah, what you said in your original message, I think, was, hey, I heard you talk about you don't have a hunting buddy who is actually as passionate and is down anytime to go anywhere, anytime, like,
Yeah, dude.
boom, 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 let's
That's
go
me.
do this shit. And you're like, that's totally me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
If you were to call me, swear to God, tomorrow, like
Yeah.
at 3 a.m. for some reason, and you're like, I need
Yeah.
you to drag this deer right now,
And that's fun when
I'd be
you're
like, I'll be right there.
when you step into like a coaching role or something. If you have
Yeah.
somebody like that, then it is fun and it's more rewarding because
Yeah.
you know that you're going to put the work into it and not
Right.
just not take anything into account and
Yeah.
whatever. But I remember like Infault says that's how him and Mario got into it. Mario was a guy on his Hunting Beast forum, and
Yeah.
he could tell early on that I don't know even know if you know these guys yet. But
No, yeah, I know what
the
you're
Hunting
talking about.
Beast.
Yeah.
And Mario's a fucking really great hunter, and he, Dan was like, yeah, I could tell from on the forum that this
Yeah.
guy was dedicated, and
Right.
he hunts the way that I am, and he's down for anything. He's down to put in some work, and
Yeah.
that's how they became,
Yeah.
good hunting buddies. So
That's what it's about.
yeah,
Yeah, because you don't want to like waste your time either. Like, and it's not. I don't want to call it a waste of time, but like, you want it to amount to something.
want
Like, you have
anybody-
limited time, anyways. So
But anybody who wants to hunt and they just really want to hunt, whether they can hunt every day or they can hunt one day a year, if they really want to learn, I want everybody to be able to. But the podcast helps in that way,
Yes.
to be a passive
it's been huge.
mentor, passive educating with people just by interviewing really good hunters.
Yeah.
So like I feel like the guys who are more passive, they get good mentorship just from listening to the podcast, I think,
100%.
and they learn stuff that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, then there's like some people who just want to, be as good as they can and really, really, really learn and take it seriously.
Yeah.
And those, it's more fun to take those people into the field.
Right. Like I'm on like now I was thinking about I'm kind of like this like coulda shoulda woulda mentality where I'm like, fuck, like what if I would have like started hunting like 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, don't
What if
ever
I
think
know, I know. It's
Yeah.
yeah. It's like this Pandora box.
Or
of,
you
like,
see somebody's
regret.
trophy room and you're like, man, that guy, he's 35 and he's got fucking 30 giant bucks. Like, dude, don't ever.
You can't do it.
No, and it's
But
like,
but this is me just competing against myself, being like, what an idiot! You held this barrier up in your mind for so long for no reason. Again, right? Like no one was stopping me. I could have started years ago. I had the flexible income and the flexible schedule and the
Yeah.
this and that. I could have done this years ago and been amazing probably, but that's all right. I got a lot of catching up to do and a lot of learning to do, and hopefully
40
before you
years of
know
good
it,
hunting ahead of you too, maybe even
Oh, for
50,
sure.
dude.
So,
like Larry
I'm hoping,
Davis is 84 and he's hunting like crazy.
yeah, that was a dude
guy.
that was here. Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
he's still in great shape. So that'd be 50 years ahead of you from
Yeah,
34.
So there's plenty of time. It's more of like a damn, like what have I missed out on? Like this is such an amazing,
Yeah.
addictive culture and thing to get into, and I wish I would have just started earlier. Basically, is my whole thing.
But
you
now
know?
your kids, you can get your kids into it if they want to. They can start early because of your passion for it now. So that's how it starts.
Yeah, my oldest loves fishing. She talks about the boat all the time. She wants to get out there all the time, and she now it's dude. I can't. I worked so hard to find that one shed.
Yeah.
I brought home that shed, and she goes to me. The first thing she says to me is, "Dada, only one." I can't make that up, dude. I like. She killed me, but at the same time, I wanted to
Dada.
cry because I was like, you know how many miles I put into finding this one shed? And she's like, dude, where's the pair? This is all you're bringing home? Like, get out of here.
In one of these old Sports Afield magazines, I don't think it's that one, but I've been getting into those lately. For people listening, I got a box of antiques,
These
just
are awesome.
a random one at an estate sale, and I was going through it, and there was a 1945 Sports Afield magazine in there, and 1917 Forest and Stream, and a bunch of cool old stuff. But in the hunting space, outdoors, there was just 2 magazines, and then I started buying more old Sports Afield magazines, and been reading through them. And one, the one where they're highlighting those 3 women I was telling you about, we're just talking about how different society was, and there was 3 women who illustrated. Back then everything was done illustrate. There's some photos in there and stuff, but the main spreads and the articles and stuff, you'd get an artist and you'd hire them to draw a scene, right? And it's really cool, beautiful work. And they were highlighting 3 women, and it was talking about how it's really hard to find women who even work in the publishing field. It's very rare, especially in the outdoors field. And then it was like, especially who are as beautiful as our 3, and it's got pictures of them. And it was funny. And then they each had like told how they got into the space and what it is about them. And one of them said that she got into hunting because her dad. Or the article was like, look, in most sports in the world, a woman will never be as good as a man. You just can't. You're smaller. You're not as fast. You can't jump as high. So, a woman baseball player isn't going to be as good as Babe Ruth. She can't compete against men. But hunting is the one sport. Hunting and fishing in the outdoors is where that's what they said in these magazines, right?
Yeah.
Like I could be as good. There's nothing.
Yeah.
The implement of the weapon equalizes everything. I can be stealthy. I can climb trees. You can do everything as good or better than a man does.
Yeah. Might even be better. Yeah.
And it's so totally like women should. There's like that's what I mean with your daughters. Like if they want to be into hunting, dude, they should get into hunting and love it.
I'm all about teaching them, dude. Like I even from the fishing aspect, like I said, that's the most exposure that she's had so far. But getting her on the boat and like gutting a fish right in front of her and showing her all like just all that stuff, like it not being. It's not weird, and it's not a weird, abstract taboo thing of like, oh, it's dead and there's blood and ew, yucky. Like, no, this is what we do.
Circle of life, man.
And this is how we eat it. And you enjoy eating it at home, right? When mom and dad cook it, okay, great. Like, we're gonna do this again tomorrow, And now even with hunting, I took her turkey scouting with me a couple times, and she's like, let's go find the turkey lurkeys. That's what she calls them. Just even to show how to be quiet and like let's not step on the loud crunchy leaves. Like let's just all that little stuff, man. She's eating it up, and whether or not she'll really take to it and have an affinity to it, as passionate and as crazy as I am about it, I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
And that's okay.
Give her the opportunity.
Exactly. I'll just expose her to whatever she wants to, get exposed to. But I think that's what I'm really excited about is like, even though she's a girl, I want her to be sufficient enough on her own, self-sufficient, and where. Yeah, she knows how to tie a fly, or knows how to do this, or knows how to, gut a fish and fillet something. And if she needed to and wanted to, right? Yep. And I think that's for any young girl, like that's impressive and should be, taught and normalized. It's not like a weird guy thing. So I'm all for that, especially I have 2 young girls, 3 and 1. So
and I've got
they'll be badasses
too. I can't wait. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. She's gonna love it. I know Scotland's daughters absolutely love fishing. I mean, it's just, there is no gender barrier at all in
the outdoors world. No, not at all. So. There's plenty of really strong, I see plenty of especially content creators, YouTubers and stuff. Bow hunter women and fishing women, this and that. It's for anybody, dude. Yep. So. I'm all about it.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah, man.
We'll wrap it up at this point here, and I know you're gonna do an awesome job this year. Kill a deer. We'll probably hunt together a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
If we can make it all work, and
we'll have a 2.0 cast, and I'll have a deer head sling across my lap here or something. I don't know, something crazy.
100%, you'll be back.
Yeah, man.
And we'll do some fishing this summer, hopefully.
Absolutely.
We got to catch some fish.
We
fill our freezers.
Yeah.
Have a big ass fish fry.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks for coming, dude.
Absolutely, buddy. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.